Good morning, y'all. Good afternoon, good evening for those of you on the other side of the world. Hope you're all doing well. Let's get started. Everybody feeling inspired today? Ocean is with us today. Welcome back, UFO Ocean. Good to have you here, man. Paul's tuning in from Drizzy, Maryland, and it is, I'm not going to lie, dude. It's absolutely flippin' glorious here. The only white in the sky is a contrail from this jet flying by. And it is just, I mean, it looks like summer. It looks like an August morning out there right now. It's awesome. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe June. Stoked to have some great weather back. What up, Saf? How you doing, Holmes? Raining there, huh? Well, the tables have turned, I guess. We get sunshine today. When last I saw you, what did we work on? Bass, right? We did basses, right? And then I went on a big tear that night, and I flipped out a bunch of variations on those and ended up with, I don't know, like 30 new stems or something like that, 30 new loops. So that was good. I wanted to kind of circle back to risers again today, and maybe just talk a bit about the concept of like multi-use, multi-purpose sound design sessions. So it's one thing to use a sound in different situations, right? Like you've got some, I don't know, some freaking beans or some lentils or something, right? And you like scatter them on the table and you capture that recording and you turn that into, you know, vinyl noise or whatever, and you put it into a cup and you shake it and you make some shakers or maracas or whatever. You put them into, I don't know, like a plastic container or something, right? And swirl them around and you turn that into an atmosphere or whatever. Like it's one thing to turn or use like a single sound, like a sample for many different things. We kind of think that way naturally with samples, I think, nowadays. Like, oh, I got a new wave file. What can I do with this, right? But I'm always kind of shocked when I learn that not many people are playing with the sounds that they're making currently, like in the moment, in a synth, playing with them to see what kinds of sounds slash instruments are hidden in there, right? So in other words, right, like you start building a nice tight little pluck, right? Well, what happens when you take that same exact sound and expand it out into a pad, or you transform it into a riser or something like that, right? But they're in the moment, right? And once you start to shift your mind in that directions, you quickly start to gravitate towards using your macros more and in more unique ways, and all of your sounds become more flexible. Which is why you often see like a shape macro in my patches, because I want people to play with this concept of timbre, mood, texture. Like these things are more important. This is what I propose, are more important than the like intended functionality of the thing that you're making, right? It's great that you've got a pluck, but what else can that pluck do, right? And if it's the right sound for your project, well, it can probably do a lot of different things. So long story short, this is a really cool way to build continuity within a project. So as we go through and we make some cool things today, maybe we'll try and turn a riser into a scrape and turn a scrape into a a big atmosphere or something, right? Like just try to get more out of each thing. Yo yo, what up, Andremia? How are you? Oh, well, Paul. Now that you said the words out loud, it might stay cold for a few more days, huh? It kind of seems to be the way here. Anyway, I mean that's how it is here. If we say, "Oh, it's really nice out," and it starts to rain. It's funny when I was growing up, there were all these "Don't do that or it'll rain." Like, don't wash your car, don't step on an ant, don't step on that crack. Everything results in rain here in Oregon. All right, I'm just going to remind myself what I did last night so I don't go in the same direction. If Maryland is getting snow in April, the rest of the area is probably getting worse. Yeah, well said. So I think what I'll do is I'll take this one out for a minute. So I'll take this off. And instead, let's just turn that shape into a little shark fin. And let's just slow that way down. Okay, so why is this happening? This thing's spinning like mad. I've got this LFO on it with a very slow rate. Come on, Serum, let's do this. Now there's a bug I have not encountered before. A sticky LFO, huh? Huh. Well, that's problematic. Let's see what happens when we toss it. Oh, there it goes. Slow down. Oh, now it's sped back up. What the hell's going on here? Okay, this is LFO1. It's not being auxed by anything. Oh, LFO1 rate. There we go. Rate. There we go. Cool. Okay. Now let's get into a different mode here. Animog. Little sound freaks. Let's do a little unstable. Let's get one of these super subtle, and we'll put this on the let's put this on the fine tune, and let's also put this on the detune. Or maybe the phase. Let's do it on the entire spectrum of the phase. Sup, Foss? How you doing, man? Gebro, absolutely. You can always send something to my inbox, dude. You don't even have to ask. Always good to hear from you, man. Okay, let's not do subtle. Let's do something a bit more busy. Yeah, like this. Okay, and let's just do it in the opposite direction on this one. All right, we'll do a little ring mod over here. That's better. All right, so this is an 8 bar. We'll go all the way up on this. All right, swap out this distortion here. Let's do a quick wave shape on this. Like yay. All right, let's put our compression back up and put our reverb up here. Okay, my compressor. There it is. I don't need all those mids. Let's fix that reverb. See what this sounds like as a real short stop here. All right, so we'll take this simple one. Just call this one a thin comb. And Dremy, I just saw your question about some feedback. Absolutely. Anthony, welcome back. Indremia, you can drop whatever kind of link you like. Absolutely. Gebro, I will check the inbox here in just one sec. Javar, welcome. Welcome back, dude. How are you? Ooh, Paul's got a new video up. He says, for what it's worth, I finally installed the new Audio Thing motor and Wavebox plugs and took them for a spin. Video on YouTube. Paul, you should drop a link to the Uncle Chrome channel. Modulated the bejesus out of them. Nice. Ah. Oh, that's actually a pretty interesting approach. Don't ship with presets, but with a random button. Ah. Javar. Welcome, dude, to Reactor. That's awesome. You'll never look back. It's so good. Awesome. All right, so we'll get to all these. I'm gonna check the inbox for Gebro's message first here. Gebro, you sent to my email. I actually don't see it yet. Unless it's another inbox. Let me check my other inbox. Holler at ohmlab.tv if anybody wants to submit something by email or kick down sounds that you want me to upload to the community drive, or if you just have a sound you want me to work with today, that's fine too. Gebro, I'm not actually seeing this in my inbox. Maybe it's just still uploading or something. I will come back and check on that in just a sec. And yeah, maybe it's still just uploading the link or something. So I will click on Andremia's, and then after that we'll check yours. I gotta start this over. There we go. That's better.
We started here. It's like a movie reel, right?
Okay. Um, this is cool. It's got a really nice it's got a really nice original feel to it. Um, it's definitely one of those tracks where you expect some kind of like some VJ action in a live show. You know what I mean? Some weird visuals, random random clips from whatever. So I love that intro sample. That detuned Vox synth, I think it could be even more wonky than it already is. Um, I'm not sure if it's like sample and hold type stuff or if it's really quick, like really rapid, like delay twists, like just little tweaks or something. I'm hearing something that would be just really good for it. Um, Somewhere in that realm, I think would be really cool. And to play with detuning, like as a modulation option, um, would be ideal for this type of sound, right? Just put like a slow moving LFO that's got some weird unexpected shape to it. It could even just be a straight line with one little hump in it at some point. Slow it down. It's an arbitrary position in in the LFO cycle. Leave it unsynced, and then connect it to like the fine pitch or whatever on one of the oscillators, or you could even do the phase position knob on one of the oscillators, and it would give it kind of like this detuned smear kind of effect, kind of a flumy kind of a feel. Um, right around 1:30 or so, I started to realize that this thing has got this kind of like heartbeat to it, right? It's kind of pumping, but there isn't an actual like real reinforcement to that. Nothing with real gravity. So if there was just some really simple, like very gently saturated sine subswells or something like that in there, I think it would be really freaking dope. And if you exaggerated, like if you pipe that out to a second aux track and cut out all the lows and pumped up the highs artificially, right? There's really nothing there, and then drench it in reverb so you can get kind of like this breath, like this after breath kind of effect for that bass swell. I bet that'd sound freaking choice, dude. Oh, you could modulate the pre-delay back down in time with that pump, so it's got kind of like this breath and suck in kind of a feel. I think that'd be freaking rad. Um, Around 2 minutes, I feel like there's just like a lot of space to play from that point forward. What about some really subtle stutters or some rapid pans or something? I feel like you've got such a perfect balance of positive and negative in this thing that it's just really set the table for small ear candy embellishments. It wouldn't alter the arrangement or like the overall um, thing that you've got going on, but I think it would really add to the aesthetic, the ethos you're working on. And I love that it ends in those rounds. I love that. I love that. Um, Pops and clicks. Foss. Uh-oh. Check your samples. Add those fade curves. Um, could have dropped a bit of an LFO on the sub for pumping a bit of saturation on the higher end of the sub. Totally agree with the stutters. Beat, repeat. Yep. Um, ooh, textural repeater. Just by the name, I endorse it. Oh man, it repeats and adds texture. How could it possibly go wrong? Awesome. We are of the same mind on this one then. Yeah, this is great, dude. This is great. I love hearing what you're up to. All right, Gebro says, yes, in the email, check for the spam. I will do that right now. Sometimes Gmail just takes a minute. Did you send it to holler@ohmlab.tv, Gebro? Because I do not see it here. But I will reload it really quick again. Nope, still nada. Double check you didn't send it to like holler@ohmlab.com or something. And I will make sure that you're the next one in. Indremia, thank you, dude. Thanks for always putting stuff up. Thank you for the kind words. I'm glad that I just speak the same language as you, really. um, yeah, that's how I see it too, Indremia. Even when you're sending stuff out that's already, or sending stuff through that's already out there, there's still something you can get from it, right? Yeah, Saf, of course. You can always send through your redesigns, dude. Of course. Yeah, good tip, Foss, because Ableton does the auto fade for you on samples upon export, but there is a pref that you can select for while they're actually actively in the arrangement window, huh? That's freaking rad. That's freaking rad. That right there sums it up. Oh, my VOD got a copyright claim for the creation of this song. It's just stupid. All of it's just so stupid. With all of the artificial intelligence out there, you'd think that they would stop putting humans in charge of some of these decisions and let the AI start tweaking itself. I feel like some of these things are just blatantly obvious. Huh, Gebro, I am still not seeing this. Where? Wait a minute, hold on a second. Is there a... Ah, there it is. There it is. This is not spam. Thank you. Rock on. Okay, so we've got two MP3s coming in from Gabriel today. Get some good quality playback here. Okay, so we've got first one is ASMR, second one is uplifting orchestra. All right, hang tight just one sec. So about halfway through this, at 18 seconds, give or take. Yeah, I think after this, I think after the first impact, not even the second impact, I think maybe there's maybe a small wind up to the full thing, but I think you should have an additional layer of something rapid in there. Maybe like the rims on some drums or on some taiko drums or something like that. Maybe not direct skin contact, but maybe just like wood on wood kind of thing. Um, and is the mechanical stuff oh shoot, what's it called? Native Instruments. Not 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 damage, but the metal one. Kinetic metal. Is that what that is? I would recommend doing a quick A/B, running that one sound, the mechanical kind of clockwork type sound, through something like Hysteresis from Glitch Machines or something. Free plugin, add some width and some character and some. You can tame it quite easily and add some really subtle nuances in there, but something to get it away from the super clean sound that it has right now, I think would be really, really good. Um, Especially if ASMR is going to be in the title. It seems um, like everything in the mix is treated really well with processing, and that these things are almost too pristine, I think. So they come across as just a little bit dry. They're very well, you've treated them quite nicely. Um, it's more just a slight difference in aesthetic, I think. So I think they stand just a little bit too upfront and crisp and like at attention, if you will, which I know is kind of the point of having a sharp sound like this. Um, but if you were to add just a little bit of sizzle to it, um, I think it might be the glue for this thing. That and a little layer of some rapid taps perhaps in the background here. I'm going to listen through it again. Okay, the other thing is the repeating the ooh 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 thing. Um, I think that's got to be changed up just slightly, because it's one of the only things that doesn't change in pace or accent or anything over time, right? So it kind of stands as one of the only kind of um, stationary elements, if you will, or static in regards to dynamics. Yeah, so instead of coming back at double speed right there at 23, maybe it's just like one, a small pause, and then a couple, and then maybe there's like some kind of a sweep or something to get like in volume up or something to help kind of bring the dynamics to that one element. Um, when they first hit right here in the center of this trailer here. Even those could maybe get like a small volume shift between the two, right? Maybe if it's just even 3 dB, you got a little curve on there. So the first one's a little quieter than the second one. Or maybe flip it, right? Maybe make the second one more like an echo. There's something about the dynamic range of those that makes them stand out as kind of still. So this is solid. I love the instant impact in the beginning. Solid. Oh. A couple things. Okay, the ha ha ha, I think those should come up in volume just a little bit more. That's a really great sync with that riser that you've got in there. I kind of missed him the first time. That's a great effect. The other thing is, if you don't already have it, a touch of saturation on your reverb channel after the reverb, after you've EQ'd it. Touch of saturation. It'll make those booms even more rich and full. And you can just use something simple like a super transparent overdrive on it, and it'll give it just a touch more power. It won't overdrive the actual sound. Really, really good. Love the metallic bangs in there. You could use maybe just a super, super subtle bump around like 250, 300. Really soft, gentle curve just to add just a tiny bit more low mids. This is solid, man. Again, just another really, really solid one. All right, so we got one more here. Uplifting orchestra. The choir in there seems to be a bit more of a background element, and with the force that they're singing with, I feel like they want to be heard a little bit more. That might be my only gripe about this one. This is a very, very solid commercial sound. This Foley that you've got in here. You might want to pitch that down an octave and see what it sounds like, or double it up in the project, right? Copy it down a lane and drop the octave there and spread them just a little bit. It seems like it might be a little bit too bright in timbre for the kind of darker triad that you're working on here. Okay, so the vocals are a bit more off to the side and the strings are more in the center. It'd be interesting to me to hear those strings move a bit to the side and a bit more to the side, and the vocal, the choir coming more towards the center. They would definitely feel a bit more up front and more of a focal piece. And I think that it might feel better in a big playback system, right? This is obviously something that you want to be heard on a big screen, like in a theater. So that might help. That might help focus that. I'm going to listen to this one more time here. These drum hits those. Those could use a little sub reinforcement. Um, your the big impact over here has great sub, and I think you could fill up this arrangement with just a couple of really punchy supporting sub hits under those drum strikes right there. And it could even come up in time as your intensity is building. Some more attention is being called to it, you know? Yeah, I think that's what I got for you on these. These are freaking great, of course. Everything you bring is great. Oh, let me catch up in the chat here. Yeah, good point, Paul. Remember, the AI tweaking itself is still written by meatbags. The meatbag command. Oh, man. Oh, Javar, there's a slippery slope, huh? Get rid of the humans. Yeah, it is silly, Andremia. Claim against them. Oh, man. Yeah, you do get penalized in different ways on the different platforms. The most common is removing of audio right now. Uh, and if you're on YouTube, you give up your ad rev. Yeah, Andremia, it's silly, right? It's just silly. Just the constant claims. Man. Yeah, Andremia, this right here. I want every claim so far, but it's silly. It sounds like nothing they claim. They're just like, oh, wait, you're using a kick. That's our kick. I'm like, you made a kick out of a toaster. Okay, show me. Oh, man. Flywheel T. Shyster, Esquire, from the firm Goner, Cheatham and Howe. Yeah, that is actually a pretty interesting idea, is just start hassling them, right? And I like the idea of proactively sending them a bill. You know, you guys can clear this up right now if you like. Here's my hourly rate. This is what I've put in. And by the way, subscribe to my channel. I think it's hilarious when someone signs with a label and then the label starts dinging them. It's endless. It's just endless. Gebro, anytime, dude. Anytime. I'm glad you guys like the feedback so much. So, Gebro, When last we spoke, you were doing, I believe it was premium beats. Are you still doing premium beats? And are these going to premium beats? And how's it working out for you so far? I think last we spoke about it, you were asking what other places there were for the type of stuff that you're producing, and I'm kind of curious. Have you moved the needle on this at all since we've last spoke about it? Paulie, what up, dude? How are you? As long as the police don't raid your house. Oh man. Do you guys remember when the like the Napster stuff and whatnot was at its frenzied peak and they were like making a show of it and like arresting house moms, like average housewives in suburbia for like torrenting some freaking Pink songs or something? Yeah, that's how I feel about it too, in Dremia. It's like, yeah, you guys just keep pushing, and I'm gonna get some free marketing out of this eventually, and people will know my name for something different. Oh, your sound design is so good, it's a crime. Oh man. Polly, it's always a good choice. We want to know what you're working on. You just let me know when you're ready, and if you want it public or private. Yep. All right, all right, all right. Um, so in your experience so far, Gebro, is Artlist offering you anywhere near what Premium Beat is offering you? It's a crime. Yeah, see, Javar makes a good point here. If their kick sounds like yours and you live streamed yours, then how'd they make their kick? Where's their proof? Huh? Huh? Oh, snap! Polly's Batman. You're Batman. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever actually seen Polly in the same place at the same time as Batman. Oh, and just like that, he's stepping up to the plate. All right, we'll do this. And then I'm going to make some more sounds. I've had that same conversation with people in Dremia. I've had people that have quite literally, quite literally found like tutorials, like video tutorials or whatever, and been like, you stole this from band or artist XYZ. And I'm like, if you go back to the beginning of what you just sent me, I like clearly state that I'm the creator of that sound that they used. And people just have an itchy trigger finger and a very like low attention span these days. They catch a snippet of something and they think they've got it all figured out or something. I don't know, man. You're just ready to go off. Yeah, some people are quite mean. Ah, so Artlist, what I will say about Artlist is that they've come knocking many, many times. Um, And the money that they offer is nowhere near what the stuff is worth. Um, so I'm very interested to know how they're adapting after getting that feedback from so many um, people for so long now. I'm hoping uh, that they change their tune and they start paying people more outright because um, they've put together a brilliant marketing campaign. They should have some good people in there. Maybe it was the same person in Dremia. Oh man. Just a simple robot pushing buttons, making some sounds. Doo doo doo, bleep bloop bleep bloop. More like Christian Bale, not Ben Affleck. You get to choose. We're kind to this robot here, Polly. And Dremmy is a good one. You know, like Ex Machina, or like the one android that's it's doing all right. How dare you? How dare you? Tendril is a good bot. Tendril is a good bot. Absolutely. All right, let's do some feedback for Polly here. It's been a minute. Good to see your face, Polly. Okay. This is solid. I like this. I got a couple mixing things here for you. But the arrangement and the track is great. All right, so smooth vibes, like instantly, like you know exactly what the song will be right from the very get. It's got that classic vibe there. Okay, so the reverb on this is a bit much in a couple of spots, right? Like the clap might be a little bit big, or the other stuff could be a little bit bigger. There's just a slight conflict with the reverb and the size and how much is being applied to what. Um, so for this type of music, if we go back in time, we would oftentimes see a couple of reverbs on the board. You might have like a large, a medium, and a small, right? Or you might have a hall, a room, and a plate, or something like that, right? And then you're sending your different things to those reverb channels to kind of get the continuity. But you have a somewhat eclectic palette here, so I would recommend a couple things. One, make sure that every single element, every single track has an EQ on it before anything else in this mix. And that as soon as you load it, as soon as you toss a new track in there, you go in there and you make sure you're cutting out whatever low end doesn't need to be there. Okay, because once these things start to share reverb space, and they have a bit too much mid low or low shared um, frequencies, like frequency crossover, you start to lose definition in your entire mix because the reverb tail is just kind of hanging in the air there, which means those frequencies are hanging in the air there, and they're bumping into all of the new notes that you're delivering, right? So what you're trying to do is keep away um, the main frequencies in play from the same frequencies that are being generated by the track, right? So the way we can do that is by removing as much of the low end as possible in these things without cutting off their life force, of course. Sending it into the EQ, and then on that EQ channel, because all of this should be parallel, on that EQ channel or on that reverb channel, you should have an EQ right after the reverb, and you should cut out a large chunk of that low end for most of those instruments. I'd have a separate bus for your drums and perks and have them on a mostly shared reverb situation. Put them all in a room, and then if you want those claps to be bright and airy, give it its own reverb. Don't put it into both. Um, but I think that that's going to give you the clarity and the separation, and it'll bring a ton of warmth to your mix because you're going to hear and feel your keys and your bass, and even your kick a whole lot more. Um, so that's the first bit. The second is the kick seems just a touch flat for the bright and airy claps. So I'd give it a small EQ bump. This one is probably going to be somewhere between 85 and 105, I bet. If you err on the side of 85, it's going to give it more beef. And if you give it around 105, it's going to give it more transient. So you just kind of have to decide which one actually fits the mood of the music, like the mood that you're going for and the feel that you're going for. Around 130 or so, that backing synth pad, I'd up that just a touch. It's nice. It's nice, and it ends up getting buried there. Um, and and we'll get to this, but it could just be moved to a different position. So there is one thing that I would recommend doing with this whole project. Um, Before I get to that, the one thing will be stereo field and volume work. Got two more things here. The drum hits at 2, where they just start right off here. It's not the normal drum kit. It's the one right after the break here at 2 minutes. They're dominating the keys and the bass. So what I would do is I would bring the volume down, like maybe by half, and move them off to the side somewhere, like maybe 20 cents left or right, um, opposite of wherever the keys are. Um, And then around 2:30 or so, I noticed it again. So I mentioned it. The keys on one side and the piano basically in the middle, it feels a little off there. Um, so here's what I recommend to get the best mix possible on this without affecting your arrangement or your ideas. First, pick your hero. What's the one element in your mix that you want to be the main focal point of the track? Is it the bass? Is it the kick? Or is it the keys or whatever? You get to pick. And whatever that is, you're going to set that up. You're taking everything down to 0 dB here. You're going to take that one slider up, that one fader up until you get to about -6 dB on your meter. Make sure it's got an EQ on it when you do this. And then bring everything else up underneath it in order. You do one at a time. So you start with the second most important sound, right? So if the bass is your hero and you're bringing up your drums to be right underneath them or whatever, right? So you get your volume mix down and then start from center on everything and move everything out of center, right? You can keep your kick in the center and you can keep your bass in the center and then just move everything else out somewhere. And it's going to open up your whole mix. You will actually hear elements of the individual sounds that you simply have not heard yet. Because right now, they're a little bit too stacked up, um, both frequency-wise and stereo position-wise. And if you do those things, you're really, really going to like this. This is a good song. This is great. And I love the feelings that you put into those keys, man. All right, I'm going to catch up here. Ah, thank you, Andromia. Sneezes, man. Oh, Polly, I'm sure you're studying right now. I'm not even judging. I'm catching up with my chat. Don't you worry about you. Wait, wait, wait. Uh, oh, hybrid reverb. Is that a new reverb inside of Ableton 11? There's at least one impulse response that has the word toilet in it. That's funny. That's awesome. That sums up a lot of people right there, Paul. When I noodle building a patch, if I get something that's just missing the mark, I crank the aux end to the plate and magic. Reverb, it's your best trick. Toilet reverb sounds great. That's why I always sing directly into the toilet when I'm in the bathroom. Toilet reverb sounds great. Not just a pretty face. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Okay, so Paul, the question of would you move kick 3% left and bass 3% right? And my answer on here is going to be no. And the reason is because if you did that, then nothing would be in the center. And there's a reason why we want something like bass in the center, because bass is hard to get heard in a lot of playback situations, especially if your mix isn't perfect. And most mixes aren't perfect. So giving it the best chance possible to be heard is one reason I have it. The other is because once you move the bass into the side, now it's affecting the side elements in ways that you weren't expecting side elements to be affected by, right? Because you're usually typically moving things out of center to get it out of the range of the bass because the bass is stepping on it, right? So I would say no on this mix, but that's with a big caveat because that's only in regards to a traditional mix with everything else. Okay, you can get as creative as you want with mixing. Think about Prince or the Beatles or any of these guys that had a creative idea in the studio. And back then, it almost always involved panning in some way, right? There's lots and lots of great tracks where you hear the bass on one side and or the entire drum mix on one side. That was popular for a bit. Um, yeah, it's more just about the relational um, positioning. That's all. That's all. That's the only reason I say don't put the stuff on the sides, because you've just moved other stuff out on the sides. But you can move your keys into the center and move your bass off to the side. You can figure it out. You just got to make space. Let things find a lane and let them be in it. Yes, new reverb in Ableton chorus reverb magic. Oh, that's awesome. Similar to the polyverse reverb Comet that we looked at on here, huh? A little bit. Polly, you bet, dude. I'm glad that you jotted it all down. I'm glad we got to hear something you were working on, man. It's been a bit. Yeah, and as Javar just points out, unless you're the Beatles, right? You get to do what you want. Anyone gets to do what they want with their mix. The only reason you don't move the bass out of center on most mixes in the um, electronic influenced realm of music production is because of playback. Because so many systems out there are mono. And if your bass isn't there and your kick isn't there, then you've quite literally lost the backbone and the legs of most of the genres being played on those systems. Hence, this constantly regurgitated conversation about keep your bass in the middle and your kick in the middle. It's not always true for everything. Speaking of toilets, what's your wildest? Went to the one in New York City with one-way glass. Oh, interesting. So nobody can see you, but you can see them. Oh man. Javar says I use a spatial plugin and put everything directly behind the listener. Ah. Yeah, dude, Paul, you are always so much more succinct than me. You have just more years in the classroom. You've got a real gift, dude. I guess math. I guess when you teach high level math, you have to be succinct, right? You can't drone on and on. Turn your track down real low, then listen to it again and mix from there. Everything sounds better when loud. Then you realize how much of a muddle you've created. Boom, right there, huh? Uh, I always thought mono systems generally mixed everything down. Is that not true? Uh, well, a mono system can't do anything to your mix, period. All it does is play something in mono, which means that there is no side separation. So, um, yeah, and you can hear this. Like if you make a synth and you detune it and you put on some delay and it's ping pong, so it's going out to the sides, and then you put on some reverb, you've created something rich spatially, right? And lush. It's very wide. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to hit the mono button and it's going to get all narrow and flat and you're going to lose all the depth and width immediately. In some cases, if this thing is in the middle already, if it's already in a mono position on your pan pot, then largely the timbre will stay the same, but you've lost all of the edges, all of the spatial nuances. Okay, but what if you're a savvy sound designer? Or what if you've had some happy accidents where a large degree of the resulting timbre is because of things that are happening in the sides, right? Now, when you hear it in mono, you're quite literally not hearing at least half of the sound. It's just not even there. Um, so it's quite literally the difference between playing something without sides or not. And if you start mixing mid side stuff, you start to realize um, how you're using the sides of your mix in general and how people tune into those things, and the big differences between stereo and mid-side and mono. Yeah, and it's why things just disappear in a mix. There's lots of people that will pan stuff hard right or hard left. You're not going to hear those things in a mono channel when you do that because you've moved it out of the mono channel. You've basically told your mixer that you want it only on one side and nowhere else. It's like, folks, if you're mixing in balance instead of stereo and you move something 10 to the right, you're not going to hear it in the left channel anymore. Um, and these things can become pretty problematic when you're listening to stuff in different playback systems. So anyway, it's just good to know. It's just good to know the ways in which um, sound is perceived by us, as well as what the limitations are of the equipment. It's just like when we were talking on Monday's stream about why you actually want to bring everything down to about negative 6 dB at the beginning of your mix, and while you're actually going through your actual production process, like arrangement and everything, right? The whole gain staging process isn't necessarily there only to give you a better chance of not working as hard for managing headroom or reclaiming headroom, right? It's also about feeding signals in at a level at which the plugins were truly designed to receive those signals, right? So it's always about like this. There's history. Like there's a backstory to all of this stuff, right? The plugins are emulating real world hardware, and in real world hardware, very interesting things happened when your signal strength was too hot, right? Like it would just overburden the system that you're putting it into, and it wouldn't be able to um, adequately or accurately process your audio the way that you're expecting to. So anyway, there's always more. There's always more. Um, all the phase stuff and so on. So instead of my little Bluetooth speaker isn't mixing, it's just dropping everything that isn't mono, like when my entertainment center drops the side channel and I only hear the center speaker. Boom. There you go. Now you've got it, Javar. Now you're thinking exactly the way, because you're working in channels. And Drummy says, from what I understand, club version is probably the mix that's different and not so much arrangement or anything like that. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's always the mix. The arrangement never changes, but they sound different. Just like I was saying to Polly, when you get in there and you rework the volume mix from the ground up, and then you rework your stereo mix from the ground up, and then you EQ every element before it goes into your reverb, and you EQ after your reverb, you will quite literally hear things in your mix that you did not know were there before. And I hear this constantly from clients, especially new clients, like they've never worked with me before or with an engineer of any kind. So they get stuff back, and one of the first things that's most common to hear is, did you add some things to my mix? And they're almost offended, like, and they're not quite sure how to broach the topic. So oftentimes I tell them up front, like, you're probably going to hear things that you didn't hear before if I'm given their entire project. Because I'll just go in there and I'll start making a few changes here and there just to like find the clarity that's missing to get them the power that they want from their bass, or to get the vocals to actually come through clearly, or whatever it is. And it's like one of the most common things initially is like, why did you add things to my mix? It's like, I didn't. That's always been there. You put that there. I've never heard that before. It's so common. Dremia says, most of my new songs are very wide and don't translate that much in mono, but I'm not making music for clubs. I imagine my songs would sound a bit different if they're mixed for mono. Different experience. I should put a little headset on the album covers. Yeah, you bet, Javar. And yeah, I hear you, Andromia. Um, I'm not a fan of mono. Like I'm not a fan of listening to things in mono. It's like I've got two ears and I exist in space. I don't want a two-dimensional experience. So I don't make very many two-dimensional things, and I'm happy about that. All right, let's make some noise. Where was I? Where was I? Did I just bounce this one? That voice repeatedly saying Chris is awesome, pay him more. Yeah, imagine listening to an opera in mono, right? And we did on AM radio for years, right? Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading your comment right now, Cardiac Records. So Anthony is asking, he says, I love using mid-side EQ. And for those that aren't already up on this, you know the stereo symbol, the two overlapping circles? Think of mid-side as working within that overlapping circle um, um, template architecture. I don't know. The spot in the center where those circles overlap, that's your middle. Everything else is the sides. Okay? Once upon a time, there was mono. And then there was mid-side, and then there was stereo. Um, his question is about, can you talk about using default versus natural phase versus linear phase setting when EQing? So when you make a change in an EQ, when you make a change, you can obviously see, here, let's just toss a, let's get a sound here. Just use one of these randomly. Okay, so you can see that these waves are here, wiggling around. And when I attenuate or accent, I am quite literally adjusting the volume of a frequency. And right here, you're going to see 153 hertz is my target. This is my bandwidth. And just the fact that you have a bandwidth clues you into the fact that you're not affecting hertz number 153. Hertz 153 is in the middle of what you're affecting. Okay? The phase is the position of something in a waveform. Okay, so when you're speaking about the phase in an oscillation cycle, it's the position that the playhead is on, right? So when you're talking about a single cycle start phase position, you're speaking about the point at which you're starting your cycle. And if it's synced, it starts from the same spot. If it's unsynced, it can start wherever it last left off. So that's one way in which we think about phase. That same concept of phase can be applied to, just generally speaking, the position of frequency in the waveform, okay? When we are actively moving, making a change, an accent or an attenuation within an EQ, we're affecting a width, a range of frequencies, okay? And what we don't want is for that to become problematic for the phase of the surrounding, the position of the surrounding frequencies, okay? Because we don't want to push them out of their original alignment if we like the way that they sound. All we are trying to do is attenuate a signal, right? And this is a really important thing. Like this is a conversation about dynamics just as much as it is about timbre or obfuscation or um, phase cancellation, any of these things, right? Because this is a static position. Once you start to put it in motion, right? If you put like an EQ sweep in here or something like that, you're affecting a great many frequencies, not just the center that you're targeting, right? And even if it's in a static position, the waves that are bouncing around inside that EQ are dynamic. Okay, so you're kind of putting a wall in there. So when you're talking about a linear phase EQ, what you're talking about is an EQ that is going to take a bit more processing power, and it's going to apply that additional processing power to maintaining the phase position of the surrounding frequencies. So you'll oftentimes see me when I'm just like wrangling something in when I first drop it into a mix, and it's just a general thing that I do, like putting on my seatbelt in the car, right? It's like, okay, so these are keys. I don't need any of these. I'll just take these down here. And I'll just use a basic channel EQ. And it's because I'm not actually touching the waveform of anything that is essential to the playback of that sound, right? It's not actually affecting the integrity of something. But you'll always see me choose the linear phase EQ on my outs and stuff. You'll see that I have one right here. And the reason why I do is because I want to make sure that I'm wrangling my frequencies, but that the choices that I'm making aren't necessarily affecting the surrounding frequencies. Is that making sense? Foss is asking, would a mono mix sound the same as a stereo mix to someone without hearing in one ear? No, because the signal would still be the same. You're still outputting the same signal. You can hear all of the space around you. It's just that you hear it, what's the right word, stereoscopically with two ears. But if I plug one ear and I listen to the same sound being played back in mono versus stereo, the missing elements will still be missing regardless of my ability to perceive stereo. Does that make sense? Javar is saying, yeah, pretty much all we had when I was growing up was AM, so I was quite used to that. And yeah, I always wondered why things like the Beatles always sounded a little weird. Yeah. I think the Beach Boys had a mono version of Pet Sounds. Yeah, they did. There were back then when that kind of stuff was being put out, there was quadraphonic, there was stereo, there was mono. Um, and your old like 8-track stereo units would have a stereo or mono um, playback button, like a selector. And you would see that with old stereo tuner or like radio tuner um, 8-track stereos and stuff as well. Cardiac says, as I understand it, mono equals same signal in left and right. Differences between the left and right create the stereo field. Correct. Yes. So that is for something that's captured in stereo, right? Right? Because there's a difference between um, if you record me with anything with a single microphone, you're going to get a mono signal. If you record me with two microphones and they're offset from each other, you're going to get a stereo capture. I can take either one of those and put them into a project and then turn my pan knobs wherever I want them to go. And all the other elements in that mix are going to be panned in different places as well. So now the question becomes, right, if I'm just listening to that on playback in my DAW, I'm going to hear that in stereo. If I press a mono button, I'm going to hear part of that sound. I'm not going to hear a lot of the depth and stuff. So if the same information is on both sides of the stereo field and in the middle, but there are differences, then what you lose is kind of the stereo image, and that's all. The difference between, which is what um, Anthony is saying. Um, but if you have something hard panned to the right or the left in that mix, you're not going to hear that in a mono playback. Even if you just push the mono button in your DAW while you're playing back, you're just not going to hear that element anymore because it's not in the center anymore. So the further away from center you are, the less likely you are to hear that represented um, properly in your mix, right? So this is really just a matter of um, gear at this point, because the conversation of do we hear in stereo with one ear, or is the difference between mono and stereo just simply difference in the stereo field? Yes, but to a certain extent. And then there's also the gear element in here, because the user is making a whole bunch of decisions along the way, and some of those are just not going to be um, as surface level, right? They're going to be a bit more nuanced. So, oh yeah, I've still got some. I've got some mono Beatles vinyl as well. Pause. I'm just seeing the emojis there. Oh, dude, Zappa is the king, Saf. Javar says, I remember when stereo widening became a fad in boom boxes. Yeah, I remember this as well. A friend of mine was an electrical engineer and added it to his. All he did was add a switch that reversed the polarity of one speaker, which canceled most of the mono signal. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm. Anthony saying, I've seen that using linear phase EQ is incredibly useful when working on multi-mic recorded elements, a drum kit. When EQing your snare, it could push itself out of phase with your room mic. Yeah. For example, so linear phase diminishes the effect an EQ cut would have on its relative phase, correct? Yes. So, is it prudent to use linear phase in a purely digital context? Yes. Yeah, and for the same reasons, but it's that we can't make the assumption that all sounds are equal and all sounds are somehow tame, right? Sounds are freaking wild, and they're living. And there's choices inside of a synth or a sampler that I'm going to make that's going to push stuff um, in really weird ways, like comb filtering and stuff. And the more processes that are in play, the more likely I am to use a linear phase. Simply put, at the end of the day, the difference in CPU consumption between a basic stereo or mid-side EQ function and a linear phase function is nothing. It's nothing. And I would also say that a linear phase EQ is going to use the same amount of CPU every single time. So it's predictable if you were honestly really concerned about the CPU usage difference between them. But long story short, I would just say, play it safe and put a linear phase at the end. If you're EQing something like reverb, put a linear phase on it, right? If you're EQing something that it just took you a while to make and you're super proud of it and you want to do whatever you can to protect the original integrity of the sound, use a linear phase on it. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Polly, I had someone tell me natural phase is the only way you should EQ. Now I'm unsure of that. I'll have to do more research on it all and figure out when to use what. That is the answer for everything. This goes back to the conversation on Monday about like why people have 12 different compressors in their toolbox. It's like because, they've found a reason for those things. At first it may have been they were just acquiring plugins, but they end up keeping them and using them because they work on different things in different ways and just know which tool to use. Exactly. And Dremia nails it right there. It's an effect. You use which you want. Exactly. Because all you really care about is the sound at the end of the day. You could hear someone like me up on a high horse or a soapbox talking about protecting the original integrity of a sound. And if you're getting the sound that you want out of a stereo EQ on a very complex sound, then freaking roll with it because you're getting what you want. Yeah, I 1000% agree with Andremia. If someone told me what I had to do all the time, I would stop listening to them immediately. Would you put me in a box? Oh, yeah, Paul. And you dropped this link earlier. I will click on this. Um, be very careful where you get your feedback. Chris has a nice voice. I trust him for that reason. Thank you, Andremia. I do appreciate it. Comb. As long as the mix sounds good. Exactly, Polly. That is the first rule. That's the number one rule. Um, the people that are in here all the time that have actually been with me like in a real classroom environment, there's the rules of OhmLab, um, which are uh, the very first rule is listen with your own ears and heart first. Um, like that's before anything else. Number two is less is oftentimes more. And just kind of starting at the very top and like like I think the last rule is please see rule number one. Like even after you go through school and read books and sit with experts and have successful mentors or whatever, it's like you still got to use your own ears first because they're your ideas. No one else can hear your ideas. Andremia says, I'm kidding. Chris has given me feedback that's improved how I approach my mixing a lot. Oh, dude, that's so good to hear. That's great. That's great. Yeah, I'm with Paul on this one, Seth. Definitely. Zappa was on a ride, man. He had a journey. Polly. Not the one about Chris. I trust Chris with my life. Thanks, Polly. Love you, homie. Always listen to the advice, but also always experiment. You're the only one that should decide what's right for you. Truth. Truth. Long story short, just use your ears, but always looking for the technical nugget of knowledge. Yeah, dude, because how else are you supposed to make the decisions and actually reach the things that you want to again instead of by accident, right? Yeah. It's good to have intention and knowledge, and then you can wield it freely, right? Always learning, always learning. I hear you. Yeah, I totally agree, Paul. And you can hear him. I'm speaking to Zappa now. We're jumping threads because I'm a big Zappa guy. And I feel like I basically just sat down and I studied his stuff for many years in the '90s mostly. But I totally agree with you, dude. He hit his peak in the '70s, and then he was like, "What happens if I was to apply this to say 50 to 75 more instruments?" And then he figured out how to do those same things on all those different instruments. So you hear all of his later orchestral work and all of his arrangement, they're all very much repeating the same shenanigans over and over and over. It's very interesting. It's so interesting. Rule 1, you don't talk about Ohm Club. You just invite your friends. Ooh, great documentary on Miles Davis on the streams. Really? Don't know what you talk about. I love run-ons. I was jamming with Zev on Monday after the stream, and we're working on this funk ditty. It's just totally different than all the other stuff that we've worked on together so far. It's like our fifth or something. Anyway, um, he's like, "What even are we going to call this?" And I had like funkadelic going through my mind at the time. That's what we were working on. I said, "Hockaloogie all over your funk," and now it might end up being that, just like one big long run-on word. All right, let's see here. I was going to make some sounds. I should probably just start bouncing at this point. It's like noon. Maybe I should just do that. Let's make these fun and weird and interesting, shall we? First, let's put a little tag on each one of these. Let's see here. This one to this one. Do a fade in, fade out. Yeah, in Dremia, you can do that. Absolutely. Speaking of Zev, he's been wanting to get into some sound pack creation. I was telling him, man, you're the kind of guy that could put out a Zev 1, Zev 2, Zev 3. Just put out whatever you want. Let's do the depth first. I'll start here and we'll go down. How about that? This will be to about here. And here. And let's do a volume change on this. So we'll go to here. And let's get back over to our depth and we can flex that too. Of course, this is a 4-bar. Let's see, 4, volume 4-ish. And let's put this down here. Kill this whole thing early. Nice. Okay, so the tracks on the new EP from Foss that came out today is Bot 1, Bot 2, etc. That's awesome. And Dremia says, no, you must tell us the story behind the song, where you were, what degree was the sun shining, how did the wind affect your ... I honestly pushed some of the buttons and a song happened for a few hours later. That's pretty much it. Oh, I need to hire a writer just to make up a story for my songs. Awesome. right, so that's all well and good, but mostly lame. Let's do something cool with it. All right, let's do something weird. Let's tap these down. We should bring these over just slightly. Maybe this one. All right, let's give this thing a high pass instead of a low pass down here. Cut off some of those beefy subs. And give it some spice. Two, one. You know what? I don't really like uh, this warp engine sound very much. I think I'm gonna stretch this granular just a smidge. Mm, Maybe this needs an impact. Maybe I just don't like it because it needs a little something at the end. Let's give it a little something at the end, shall we? Of course, now I need a second riser in there to make that fit, right? Yeah, I do. All right, so let's just freaking make one really quick, shall we? Oh, actually, let's do that in stereo. And we'll just use a little bright white. All right, so we'll do a, what, like maybe a 2-bar windup or something. Give it a little curve, and we'll put a little something on it. Let's go, we want 30-second triplets maybe on this one. Soft square, 0, maybe something like this, and do a little, speaking of hybrid reverbs, let's do some Comet on this one. Okay, so maybe not quite that long on the decay. And do a less linear curve on this thing. Starting to sound a little bit better. Let's put a little heat on this. Cool. Okay, let's put a little EQ on this. I think I like this a little bit better now. Let's take a little bit off that top. And let's juice this a fair bit. everything's lined up properly. A little bit better. Guess we really don't need that. And all right, better. I don't really like spending 10 minutes processing a freaking riser, but whatever it takes. All right, so let's see here. We're going SFX, risers, and this will be, hey, Paul, I love your song 101. Buffalo buffer shuffler. Chicken Caro liner cabinet compressor. Oh my goodness. Tangential AM fun fact. My grandpa had a 67 Cadillac with an AM tube radio that had an auto search function. When you pushed a button, a motor would manually turn the dial until it detected a certain signal level. All the extra tubes for that one function were housed in a second box, as big as the glove box, shoved up under the dashboard. All that extra stuff just so you didn't have to turn a knob. Word, dude. That puts some stuff in perspective, huh? Only Paulie can call me Andy Foss. I have to get Andremia a t-shirt. Don't call me Andy. Javar says, I used to love with it because every time it reached the end, the dial would go chunk and slam back to the start. Oh, that's so great. That's satisfying. Imagine if you named the album 0102, etc. as well. That'd be horrible. I love your hit track 101 off of 01010. Right? When someone says, I love that track of yours, you know, the one. It also had a dial that went up to 110 where you could set the cruise control. You pushed a button, and from a dead stop, the 512 cubic engine would launch you to that speed. Holy crap. Oh, that's like a rocket ship. Oh, man. My RAM module has been compromised. I have no short-term memory. Had a 74 Fiat Spider that had an alternate accelerator as a pull and lock knob on the dash. Cruise control Italian style. Nice. Oh, man. AM radio. Oh, that's classic. That totally takes me back. Power everything. He also had a trunk completely full of tools to fix it every time we took it for a Sunday drive and it broke down. That is awesome. Oh, man. Yeah, good stations are toward the beginning of the dial, right? Oh, Saf, excellent. I'm glad you're going to send something in. Redesign. Excellent. Power steering is overrated. Get bigger arms. Don't call me Andy. I think this could be something. Maybe we'll toss it up in the store. We'll run it for like a week, and everyone who wants to grab one can get one. I'm okay with doing that. Maybe we should start doing that. Maybe we should select one person from our community each month or week or whatever, and we can come up with something flippin' hilarious to put onto a coffee cup or a T-shirt or something. We'll just toss it up in the store and let the community members have at it. Don't call me Andy could be the first. Yeah, don't call me Andy. And don't call me Shirley. All right, let's check it. All right, so this is a redesign coming in from Saffron Works. Okay, dude, I'm just going to give all of this feedback to you verbally here. I'm not going to write anything down for this. Where's my flipping screen here? Okay, so Saffron, this is era for era. This is probably the best redesign that you've sent in so far. Uh, but here's the caveat: you got to update it to today's standards now. So that is a really good um, recreation. There are certain things that just won't fly today that were breaking back then. You got to put those footsteps into a space and probably give them just a little bit more low end before you do so. Um, and then just in general, I would probably process a lot of these sounds with, I don't want to say, um, I don't want to say that over compressing things to get them super, super tight is always the way to go. But for this particular set of um, interface sounds that you've got going on, I think that something super tight like an OTT or something which will like hyper focus attention on the mids would be great. Um, it's quick, it's easy. You probably don't have to move away too much from default settings. So it's a really quick kind of one-stop shop solution for you. Um, okay, so those two things said, let's just listen to this again here. Okay, so your sounds are stopping a little quick. Let's get back here and I'll point this out. That right there. It should kind of have a little bit of a fade to it instead of stopping directly. Okay, your spells, these are great sounds, by the way. You did a fantastic job with these attacks and these spells. Um, when you're going back and you're adding the mid-range detail to the UI sounds, you can bias a bit more to the bass, to the lower frequencies when you start sweetening these attack sounds and the magic sounds. And the reason I say that is because it's going to bring a heightened sense of energy um, and power, right? So it gives it this kind of low end girth, that is kind of needed to be taken seriously for an attack these days. Again, if you were redesigning this for the era that the game was actually created, these sounds are pretty spot on. I mean, some of them stopping just a little bit short. But really, this is more of a mix thing now than it is a creation thing. So, big ups on that, because that's a big level up for you, right? You're not searching for the same sounds anymore after feedback, or the right sounds anymore after feedback. Now it's just a matter of get the mix perfect on it, right? Yeah, dude, this is so solid. This is so solid. So here's what you do is for today's standards, when you go back and you start bringing those things up to level, what you're going to be looking for is for your sounds to be hitting probably around the negative 16 LUFS mark. And it's going to give you the general like loudness standard that you're going to be looking for that type of work. Hope that feedback helps. Surely you can't be serious. I'll take a 2X shirt in fuchsia with green text, please. Oh, that's awesome. Then someone will post a video of themselves on YouTube wearing the shirt, and someone else will say, hey, that's my design. Andy says, relax. Oh, that's great. And Dremia can actually like include a picture of himself wearing the t-shirt, and then we as a community will each flag that video as an infringement. Good stuff, Saffron. Good stuff. All right, let's see what else I can do. I don't want to spend that much time on the next one here. But it is nice to get another impact riser in there. All right, let's select another nice little impact here. Let's just format pressure. And let's put it right here. And I guess we'll just copy this up to here and move this over thusly. Yes, please. Okay. Let's see what this all sounds like here. Nope. Go big. Maybe. Maybe. We'll give this a bit of a dramatic curve. Say yay and yay. Doesn't need to be that dramatic. Okay, so we're gonna go to maybe 11. And let's start it up a bit. All right, so we'll just make this a bit more dramatic here. So it kind of hangs in the beginning. Let's bring that way up again. All right, so let's call this one good, and we'll send this as a... Do I already have a shiny comb in here? No, I don't. Okay. Oh, maybe gated. There we go. Oh, Saf, I just saw your question about what do you mean by adding detail to the middle? I was mentioning something like an OTT or something. Definitely not a fan of like um, saying that the stuff should be over compressed to bring out the detail, but I think in those specific type of user interface sounds that you've built for that video, um, I think that it's a good tool for something like that, like an OTT type thing. It doesn't have to be OTT, but you would want to do like a fairly heavy compression and gain add back, and you'd want to do it with a multiband so you can emphasize the bulk of the added energy on your mid frequencies. And then on your attack and magic sounds, you can do something similar, but bias it towards the low end instead of just the mids. Right, if you add a little bit of extra low end as well as mids to your attack and your magic spells and your scrapes, that kind of stuff, they're going to come across with more power and oomph. So it's going to make them feel more worthy of selection for that scene. They're just going to fit. Oh, I should mention really quickly before we wrap up today, for those who have not grabbed the free pack of the month this month, go and do so because we will be tossing something else up by the next stream, I bet. So last chance. Last chance. I feel like Iron Man is powering up his repulsors. Ooh, some Doppler. Yeah, we could do that. After the explosion. Yeah, we could do that. Or we could just do a simple... yeah, let's do that. Let's just do a simple... we just got to make this a stereo. And let's just focus this a bit so we don't have the entire stereo field in play. And then we'll just say, oops, that's not what I want. Stereo, and narrow the stereo image just a bit. And we'll put this in right about here. And this ends here. This might be a little slow. We'll see. Oh, I could start it earlier. So I will. And kind of ease into it here just a little bit. Let it fan out a bit more over time. No, it's not. It's overdriving. All right, all right, all right. Let's see here. Which one is that? That's the impact. So put a compressor on that. And we'll just set this to maybe 8, maybe like a 5-to-1, 0 makeup. Set this on a 2, maybe like a 25 or so. There we go. There we go. That's in there. All right. Ah, yes, a nice little tinnitus ring. Let's see what this one does for us here. Yeah, we got to put a little, in fact, we could even put this same one up here. I'm not above using the same one twice. Ah, yes. Okay, so volume. See if we can get this thing spot on here. I don't want to cut off too much of that tinnitus, that ring. Let's turn off this pan automation. Almost. Almost. A transient master on our impact. Alright, let's EQ this. So we can hear our explosion. All right. This is our impact. Let's put a volume on this one and just force this down a little bit quicker. Cool. Give this thing a name. Shell shock one word, or shell shock 2 words? One. Okay. I thought so. And let's see how many we have here. Ta-da, 21. 21. 21 of them. How many? Okay, Wobble Thumper, you're going to go down into swells. And you are going to be called Riser Impact. Riser Impact. And you guys can come down here. And I'll get rid of this. 23. So maybe I'll add like 2 more in there. We're at about 3 gigs at this point. Ooh, and these are total just stingers here. Okay, so those can all just be general stingers, and we've got 32 of them in there. We've got 7 here, so that'll be 39. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. Wub, 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 wub. Hey, Eric. Yeah, I think everybody's bailing right now because they know I'm about to go. It's good to see you, dude. Sorry, we're always leaving when you're showing up. Hope you're getting to keep up with the VODs. Quick reminder to everybody, make sure that you grab your free sound pack from the Discord because it's a new month tomorrow. And I'll be putting up something different. Here's your link to the Discord. All right, kitty cats, I got a boogie because I've got sessions today. But good hanging with y'all for those couple of you who have hung out for the last couple of minutes. And I will see you on Friday. We'll get up to something good together. Until then, stay inspired and get out there and make something awesome. And I will see you on the flip. Peace out, y'all.